everyone. Guess who's back? It's the commish back here with another team preview. This time it's Chris and no more. Almost could pretty much say this guy's an original owner for the most part. Happy to see he finally graduated from Tier 2 to make it to the Waffle. Still has yet to make an impact there, but he has made an impact in LOD. He's our first ever champion. He did inherit a squad, though, and I gave him the career record of the previous owner. But he's made enough moves here to make it his own team. But he did win the first year coming in 3 quarters into the season and took over Matthew and Cape Cod Sharks. That being said, his name's on the trophy. So that's just the way it's going to go down. When we get into your preview here, Chris, just going to share my screen here. Just give me a moment. So here's your preview here. And I'll just start the slides here. All right, so offense. Gave you a ranking of 4th. Pretty damn good ranking, if you ask me, to be ranked top 4 in offense. I kind of look at it. Maybe I ranked you a bit too high. But, this will probably be the one putting it up for poll, whether or not I went too high or too low or on point. When I look at it, quarterbacks, this is where I gave you 5th. So I think your top 5 would even be higher if you didn't have Russell Wilson. Joe Burrow is the reason why you're top 5. Let's face it, Burrow's got all the tools. He's got all the weapons in Cincinnati to succeed. And he is a top 5 quarterback, right, in this league. Let's face it. He had a lot of success at LSU in college, and he's brought that obviously with him to the NFL and making it deep in the playoffs here the last couple of years. Russell Wilson, on the other hand, was supposed to be the savior in Denver, and clearly that hasn't been the case. And, when you look at it, it's obviously going to create some problems for Russell Wilson if he doesn't find a way to recover from last year. And obviously Sean Payton's been brought in and has that kind of clout to just say, screw you, Russell Wilson, you're gone. So definitely think you're top 5 with Burrow, but Russell Wilson, again, he's the wild card here. If he turns out to be a bust, you're definitely going to be resetting at the quarterback position, at least for your flex quarterback. Next up, running backs. This is where I gave you 4th. So, when we look at the running backs, again, 4th in offense. So this kind of reiterates having 4th. And a big part of it is King Henry. Let's face it, King Henry is a fantasy machine. Tennessee's going to be running a rock. They might as well put 12 in the box against Tennessee. But Derrick Henry is let's face it, he's legit. Always has been. Dameon Pierce, he's entering his 2nd year. It seemed like he faded off a little bit as the season progressed. I honestly think it's the college to NFL, progression, where, they're playing more games in the pros and maybe there's more expected from them. And Dameon Pierce just started to burn out late. David Montgomery in Detroit, I think that offense in Detroit, let's face it, they're becoming everyone's favorite darling right now. They've been beat up for so long, Detroit. Now you got Montgomery there with Gibbs. I think it's a good tandem. Montgomery's definitely going to get his snaps. Everyone's forgetting about Cordero Patterson. Bijan's there, Tyler Allgeier's there, but it doesn't mean that Cordero Patterson's still not going to be a weapon out of the backfield with his speed and elusiveness. Devin Achane, I think that was a great pick. You got him late in round 1. Based on all the reports, they all say this is going to be the guy that has one of the better opportunities coming out of the draft. Again, you can't believe everything you read, though, but I do like that. You went with the trend there. Zach Evans, we'll see if he has a role there and whether Akers is the answer. But then you kind of went contrarian here with the rest of the running backs. You have Travion Williams, Keyshawn Vaughn. Haven't heard positive things about these guys, but again, you can't believe everything you read, and these guys might have a great camp. You never know. So I think holding on to more running backs isn't necessarily a bad thing. If you notice around the league, some people have good running backs, but the running back room is small. And one or two injuries could really derail a person's season. So it's good to have a fair amount of running backs, but definitely scored you high because of Derrick Henry and the potential of Damian Pearson, David Montgomery. I think both those guys, all three guys are point producers and three decent starters to roll out there. And then you throw in, Devin Achane as your draft pick. I think, yeah, it's a decent group for sure. Wide receivers, I don't think it's quite as decent. I gave you 14th. To put it into perspective, the only worst rooms are Robert and Lucas, and their wide receiver rooms are dreadful as well. Yours is pretty dreadful too, I'm going to be honest. And that's why I think when I look at your offense getting fourth, maybe I ranked you a bit too high because usually most people use their wide receiver depth to fill their flex spots. You're going to have to try to mingle in some running backs there and hope those young guys get going sooner or later. And that's why I have Susie winning the division. I just think if you look top to bottom, when you look at her flex, she has a more complete team than you do, even though I'm ranking you a little bit better here in the power rankings, just to be straight up. And part of that is let's look at your top receiver, Mike Evans. Baker's throwing on the ball, Kyle Trask. I don't picture big things, and Russell Gage is also part of that offense. So the only benefit you might get from those two guys is garbage time production when Tampa Bay is getting blown out. McCole Hardman, a lot of mouths to feed in that offense. John Mechie, Tank Dell, yeah, maybe they might have prominent roles in Houston. We don't know. It's a pretty busy room there as well. Young guys, nice to have young guys in the stable, but CJ Stroud's a rookie as well, so there's going to be challenges. Braxton Berrios, I honestly think he could have potential. He's competing for the slot job in Miami, and they're not happy with Cedric Wilson. So there's potential there with Berrios, I feel. Marquez Callaway, again, in a busy room there in Denver. And then you did draft a couple of rookie flyers for the most part. They're not well-known names, obviously, but the guys that obviously I've researched as well. And it's always good to take those guys that you just never know. But one of the worst wide receiver rooms in the league, and definitely something that you'll have to look to address. And I think you traded away DJ Moore, went to the Bears. Yeah, you'll definitely need to retool there somehow. Tight ends, I gave you second. Definitely, I think competing for first as well, but I gave you second place. Here's why. So if you recall, I had Sabatica Spartans tight end room, and he had catching Kelsey at fifth. And it's only because I just didn't think he had as good of a complete room or, the good secondary tight ends. When I look at your team, TJ Hawkinson is going to be a part of that offense in Minnesota. You got Jefferson, you got Addison, now you got TJ Hawkinson in that offense. I mean, he's going to he got a lot of targets as a safety belt for Kirk Cousins. Okonkwo has come out publicly, said, yeah, I'm going to have an impact this year. And I think he has potential to make an impact in a room that's wide open for him to take the job. So, and then you throw in Greg Dulcich. A lot of people are saying this guy is an ascending tight end and a tight end talent in Denver. And I think he potentially can be one. And that's why I got you ranked second. I think you got three quality tight ends here that could produce for you. The good news for you on this as well is with that weak wide receiver flex, you could throw in one of your better tight ends here in the flex spot. And then obviously you drafted Latu as a rookie. But yeah, top two here for tight ends. I like Hawkinson in Minnesota, and I like the other two tight ends. And like I say, it can definitely make up for your weak depth and just overall talent in the wide receiver room. Defense, this is where I got you ranked bottom half, though. I got you ranked ninth. Again, not ideal to be in the bottom half. I think you've made some changes recently that definitely improved the ranking. So let's just get into it. DLLB, this is where I think you've made a trade recently that definitely improves the ranking, adding Brian Burns to the room. When I look at DL/LB, I want those DL/LB guys because those are the guys usually that are pass rushers. DTs usually don't get a lot of points, right? Unless they're getting sacks, unless your name's like Aaron Donald or Chris Jones. Typically not going to get a lot of production out of the DT position. But Brian Burns, and then, you throw in TJ Watt. This guy was the best pass rusher before he went down. And likely he'll have an opportunity to do the same thing again. Trayvon Walker's entering year two. Let's not forget this guy's the first overall draft choice from last year. So we'll see what kind of production he's made in his development. And then you got Grenard, White, and Tupolutu, or however you say that, White and Tupolutu coming in as rookies. But Burns and TJ Watt are the ones that shine here. But again, you do have to dress three, maybe some in your flex. At linebacker, middle linebacker, I think you're not too bad. There's concerns, but I think you're pretty good. Like Shaquille Leonard, let's not forget, he's 2 years removed from being basically the best IDP in fantasy, I believe. Just the health issues, and he's going to have to overcome those health issues to deliver on all his promises for you in that middle linebacking position. Bobby Wagner comes in. He's going to be the main guy, especially since Jordan Brooks is out with the ACL. But I think Bobby Wagner, this is his last year. That's my personal opinion. So you got 1 year left with him. He's going to retire as a Seahawk. EJ Speed apparently is a starter on the depth chart, as well as Caden Ellis. But again, those are two guys that are pretty iffy and not well known to be putting up a lot of production. I don't think Tony Fields is going to start. I'll be honest. I think Taki's the guy there, along with Anthony Walker and JOK. So I think Fields will revert to being a backup in his special teams role, but I could be wrong. And then Jalen Smith is there. I believe he's still a free agent. So the middle linebacking group is, if Leonard can come back and produce, you got a good group there. But again, I think it's Wagner's last year, and you're going to have to, again, look at, I think, retooling somehow in the middle linebacking position. And then a DB, you got Brian Cook, Humphrey, Kenny Moore, Harrison Smith, Jamie Robinson. There's some safety talent in there for sure. Harrison Smith, always the reliable veteran, always seems to get decent points too, to be honest. And then Jamie Robinson coming in as a rookie, I believe on your favorite team, right? So anyways, I just, again, when I look at the DB group though, is there someone there that's going to blow it out of the water? I mean, you got good guys, right? Cook, Smith are going to get points, more even Humphrey on picks, but I still think it's a group that still doesn't frighten me whatsoever. But it could be wrong. Again, I'm no expert. Again, I do feel you have a middle of the road defense. I like TJ Watt and Brian Burns would be the leaders in your clubhouse. But I think there's definitely some concerns moving forward at middle linebacker, and your DBs are, in my opinion, middle of the road, ninth place in the league kind of thing. So outlook for you, Chris. I mean, first off, I'll have a look at your draft pick scenario here for next year. So I definitely feel you are a team that always looks to retool. You have all your picks next year except your fourth. I don't know what you traded it for or whatever. I'm sure you do. Maybe that was part of the Brian Burns deal. I can't remember. Either or, I think adding Brian Burns was a good offseason move. I think for you, I got you in the top half here. I think you're going to be competing for a playoff spot at this point anyway, where the rosters are at, with likely losers, as well as potentially Nighty Knights as well. He's in that mix as well. So there's other teams there that definitely going to be competing with that playoff spot. I don't think it's a sure thing for you. I think the benefit for you is you are playing Vlad Junior Crew and Illuminati twice. So that could be 4 wins for you. They are bottom of the road teams, which will definitely help you against teams like likely losers that will have to face me a couple times, and then improving owners in that division like Trustin Fields and Bolt Up getting better. So anyways, Chris, it's an absolute pleasure to have you in the league, man. You've had my back, I feel, on a lot of occasions. I think you see me for me, and I just want to say I really appreciate you. It's been a long journey getting you to the Waffle. You're finally there, and I'm really stoked about that. You are there, and well deserved. Your communication's great. You're active. You make a lot of trades, and honestly, I couldn't ask for a better owner. So happy to have you, bud, and good luck this year.